Okay, I've switched gears a little bit here. I'm gone from taking apart to checking things out. I'm at the rear of the car and I have a big screwdriver that I'm going to pry on the tire up and down. Okay, what I'm looking for is to see if I can see any play in particularly where the bearings are, and I feel none. You can also sometimes hear a click if there's play in the bearings, but this is just, I am lifting up on the frame a bit, so it's just normal play. Looking at U-joints, the thing you're looking for in U-joints is play between this point and the cup that's in there that fits into. You can see it here. Okay, let me get some light on it. You can see this is the cup end, and that cross shaft fits into that cup. If you can turn that and see any wiggle at all in any of those U-joints between those areas, then you've got a bad U-joint. You need to replace it. I cannot wiggle any of these. I see no play. No, it's turning, but as I turn, it's turning the wheel. What you would see is a difference between this cross shaft moving and this one. When they both move at the same time, there may be a little play in there. We'll see when we take it apart, because we are going to take it apart. Maybe that one will get replaced, but it's not a really bad one, and it's not causing any handling characteristics to change or anything. Another way you can try to see the play in there is by moving the tire. If there's a really bad one, you will see that this will move freely, this cross shaft will move freely before this starts to move. That's how you look for bad U-joints. I'm going to check out the rest of this, check out the U-joints on the drive shaft, but so far everything back here looks good. I see no play in or out on the tires, no play up and down. This is just the Heim joint moving. That's okay. You don't want any play left and right, but the swivel is okay. So I'm going to check the rest of it out, and if I find anything that's bad to show you an example, I will. But if not, we'll move on to the front. Before I went any further, I wanted to make sure I got a shot of this body mount pad. It's 1 inch from the number 2 body mount on the driver's side. Okay, we're at the front now. We're going to check the ball joints. This is the lower ball joint. And what I'm going to do, I have the tire jacked up off of the ramp. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pry on the bottom of the tire. And I'm going to look for movement right here. If this spindle is able to go up in any way, shape, or form, then your ball joints need replaced. If it's tight, as I suspect this one is, then it's good. I'm going to try this with one hand. I don't see any movement. Okay. That one looks good to me. We're going to go to the other side now. Same area, pry up, nothing. They are rock solid, tight as could be. They are, I can tell, replacement ball joints, because the way I can tell is there's bolts in here. Original equipment is riveted in, and you have to drill out the rivets, and then the new one goes in with a bolt. So these have been replaced already, so maybe that's why they're good. But that's checking the ball joints. Same thing at the top, if you would see any play in there, whenever you're doing that same maneuver, that would indicate a bad upper ball joint. I have never in my life seen a bad upper ball joint. These are originals. They just don't take the wear and tear that the lowers do. The lowers take the brunt of the punishment when you're driving. So I am going to double check that with both hands once I put the camera down, just to make sure that it wasn't a fact that I wasn't strong enough with one hand to lift that up, but I don't think that's the case. Okay, tie rod ends and such. They're the same principle as the ball joint. If you have travel in the direction of the stud, that's bad. It's okay if they rotate. That's necessary. That's why the ball joint is in there, so that whenever you're going through normal steering, these things will rotate. What you don't want to have is in and out movement on those studs. Like I said, rotation is okay. Up and down, no good. And they are pretty easy. I mean, if there is play in them, you'll be able to see it. These are all good, so I can't show you a bad one. But that's the general principle behind it. Rotation, like I said, is okay. And they're not too hard to replace. You know, the trick is just getting them out of the stud, and I'll show you on the ball joints when I remove them, and on these actually, some ways to get them out. But all in all, these look pretty good. The only thing I do see under here is I've got a leaky power steering box, so I'm thinking that's going to get replaced, probably with a Borgeson, but we shall see. Okay, I finally did find something that does need replaced, and I can show you a little bit of the play. This is not a ball joint type joint, so you don't want anything to happen here other than this is able to rotate around that axis. And if you watch it very closely, it is wiggling, the stud is wiggling this way very closely. So that I am going to replace. That should not be doing that. That's the idler arm. And that's the only thing I found in this whole front end, actually the whole car almost, that's worn out. It needs replaced. As I was reviewing the video I made yesterday concerning checking the ball joints, I realized that I missed pointing out something that's very important to that check. You have to support the lower control arm, which is what I've done here, in order to do that check where you pry up on the tire and check for movement in the ball joint. If you don't do that, then the spring pressure will keep that ball joint from being able to move, because it will push the control arm down onto the spindle carrier here, and you won't see any movement. So it's got to be supported underneath this control arm in order for you to do that check successfully.